Freedom is something that we all desire, and it's kind of become the head of the modern self-improvement movement, from 2022. Freeing yourself from society's chains, which, look, I agree with that because society does have its chains in terms of the education system and how the economy runs. But the problem is that we still need rules in our life. I'll explain that soon, but basically, Generation Z has been pushed way too much by the idea of freedom. You had the hippie movement who celebrated no rules in life, let's be as hedonistic as we can and as we want, and they thought that was the path to happiness, right? Where if you were to have no rules in your life, no restrictions, and you're able to just do as you please, then you'd be happy. But no, you wouldn't. Because when you have no rules in your life, you end up doing the wrong things. So with this modernized life, right, people's values has distanced further from following a strict set of rules and more directed towards personal freedom of choice, right? I'm here to explain why it's a bad thing. So you need rules. There's a reason why you need rules. Because what I explained to the hippies, why did no rules make everyone suddenly depressed? Well, basically, let's say you wake up and if you have your own restrictions where you're like, I must wake up and start working on my purpose, then you'll do that and thus you'll feel more fulfilled. Well, if you were to wake up without any rules, your brain tends to do the easiest thing. Without any rules, your brain does the easiest thing, and it so turns out that the easiest thing is often the most sinful thing. It's the thing that will get you to be committing more harmful acts on your mental state. You could wake up and your brain's like, there's a phone over there, I'm going to go scroll on TikTok now. That is easy to do. So that is the problem with personal freedom, because you're supposed to wake up with all these rules that gear you towards your day, like a daily schedule. You must do this in the morning. So this approach to happiness, how the hippie movement said that, why don't we just do whatever we want? It failed miserably because that's not how you achieve happiness, right? Happiness is achieved through fulfillment, which creates contempt, and contempt increases your happiness. So if you want to achieve contempt and happiness, you need to start working. Well, as a man, you need to start working. It really does depend on your gender, but as a man, you need to start working to fulfill your goal. And as a woman, you need to find that man that is working on his goal, because, we need to fulfill the masculine and the feminine, but that's besides the point. So that's why you need restrictions, right? You need to be able to wake up and be like, I have this purpose I need to work on. I have this thing that I need to get done, because if I don't get it done, then I'm not going to have the future I want. Like, for example, if you're trying to get healthy, there's loads of restrictions to getting healthy. You can't just go to the gym, You can't just only do that. You have to reduce your sugar intake, your fat intake, when it comes to unhealthy fats, that is, and the amount of foods you eat and what foods you eat, right? I need to stop eating processed foods. I need to start eating healthier foods. I need to really focus on how much things I eat. Those are all restrictions. But let's say you're trying to lose weight and there's no restrictions because you're all free. Your brain will just defer to eating that stuff anyway. You'll get fatter and fatter. And you'll still be miserable because you're fat. But if you were to add those rules, within maybe a year or less, depending on how hard you smash it at the gym, you will start to feel happier because you're not fat anymore. So that's why you need rules. So what is a life without rules? So, of course, now we know the brain defers to the easiest task it can do. So when you wake up, without rules, you're gonna scroll on TikTok and use your phone. And that's gonna cause a lot more problems, right? It's similar to how a snake in a tank works, like the little enclosure. A snake loves to be in that environment because the brain wants to do as little activity as possible. So the snake will just sit there and enjoy its meal, it just gets to sit there, have a couple mice, and that's it. And that's what our brain wants to do. It wants to be like the snake. But the brain won't be happy or fulfilled as the snake. Instead, our brains will be depressed if it was the snake. So what you want to do is that you want to actually have rules. Okay, wake up, get your work done, do these habits, do your hobbies. That's it. And with the modern hippie movement, I actually think that caused the modern mental health crisis. At least one of the causations. There are multiple, But I think it kind of helped cause it because people started embracing pleasure and resisting rule sets. They stopped following rules. They abandoned religion and they stopped practicing purpose. And instead were like, let's just sit in tents, go watch a music festival, do some drugs. That's meaningless. You need meaning. So when you're basically free of rules, you end up less free because it makes you more depressed. So here's a rule that I kind of put into my own life, and I think it's a rule for life in general. Your quality as a human being diminishes when you don't focus on improving yourself, okay? Because the reason why all these ruined cities like Nineveh get buried under sand is because no one's looking after it, right? No one's improving on Nineveh, and thus, once it's abandoned, it ceases to exist. This is the same with you. You don't want to end up like that homeless man who, does all these lethal drugs every single day because you refuse to look after yourself, right? You want to instead be this well-polished man that everyone loves. And that happens when you improve yourself, in a sense. So as a result, your brain will just become depressed with no rules, and you won't have any meaning. It'll be harder to be productive because your brain defers to the easiest task anyway. So how should you go about your life? So here are some rules, okay? So first thing, you must outline what you must avoid, okay? Things like doom scrolling on social media, TikTok, adult content, you must avoid that at all costs. Processed food, all of these bad habits, okay, that will cause you to acquire brain fog. And you want to be as present as possible. So this means you must remove all those bad habits to actually feel present, because presence creates freedom within your brain. So now that you have your set restrictions now for things you don't want to do, what are the things that you want to do that will actually help you? First of all, you need a purpose. Okay, that's just basic man stuff. You need a purpose. You need like a reason to live, because without a reason to live, your brain will think. Your brain will just feel meaningless. You'll feel meaningless and you won't have anything to fight for. Of course, this takes time to find, but you'll find it, because remember, we still have a lot of time on this earth, so, think about your purpose. And you want to start your morning off with your purpose. Any enjoyable hobbies should stay late. Even though they're good, they should stay late. And you should start your day off with your purpose. And the reason why you want to be productive in the morning is because it translates how you feel across the rest of your day. I will make a video on that, by the way. So you want to avoid doing anything pleasurable in the morning and instead do what is productive, okay? Meditating at the start of the day is also really great because it clears your mind, and that's just fantastic. So after you've done your morning with all your productive tasks, throughout the rest of the day, you want to check off different objectives one by one. Either it's part of your purpose or something you want to learn, maybe a skill you want to master. It could be anything that's at least productive. So this, I say, is a life that is so much more freeing. Yes, there's a lot to do and it might be overwhelming, but just start simply in the morning if it already is overwhelming for you, okay? I started the day off like this, and I carried my way through the rest of the day, and I felt more free as a result. I felt more happy, fulfilled, and ironically, when you remove all the rules in your life, you feel less free. But if you have rules and restrictions, you feel more happier and fulfilled and free. Nothing is good when there are no restrictions, okay? Keep never quitting.